I guess you really don't know what you have until it's gone. Today marks a very sad day for many across the world, really. Akira Toriyama's death is something that a lot of us, myself included, probably were not expecting, considering he was only 68 years old. But it's just something tough to cope with. Toriyama has been highly and undeniably instrumental in the growth and development of a lot of children across the world. Anyone who watched Dragon Ball growing up could just identified with it on some level. There was a character, a scene, just something that instantly clicked with you and made you realize, oh God, this is awesome. Like, it is an awesome series and it's an awesome show. Awesome video games, awesome comics, like or manga, what do you want to call it? It was just something so surreal, so unbelievably just in tune with making the reader or watcher just fall in love with it. It's a special kind of story that anyone can identify with because there are characters who just exemplify traits that anyone can identify with. They come from these circumstances and they fight through it over and over and over again to get beyond what's bothering them, to get even further beyond their issues and to become the peak of whatever they're aiming towards. It's a story about fighting and growing up and growing stronger and becoming who you want to be. Everyone's got an arc outside of Goku. Everyone changes for the better. Everyone, develops and redeems themselves, going from monsters who murder civilians to those who would die, saving the enemies, saving their former enemies' sons, and saving the world that they themselves tried to conquer or destroy. Characters like Piccolo and Vegeta and Tien and Yamcha and Go, so on and so forth, who try to get in Goku's way to do untoward things to him, now dying for the man and his son. Like, it's it's a fantastic story. It's my favorite, honestly. It's my favorite Japanese story ever made, bar none. Like I think there are stories that I think are higher quality, but there is just nothing like Dragon Ball. Its influence, everything about it, just makes me feel warm inside. Like it just has this feeling where like I always feel good watching Dragon Ball. Nothing ever's ever made me feel as good as watching Dragon Ball. It's just so enrapturing. That's probably why it's my favorite Japanese story, one of my most favorite stories I've ever come across. I there's some stories across the world that I really enjoy. Like Tolkien and C.S. Lewis's works had a very informative on my life. So was Dragon Ball. So were many American stories of growing up and becoming an adult, getting all these responsibilities and just kind of developing to the person you are. And like, yeah, they're more realistic, I guess, in quotes, because I believe that they're more grounded in a somewhat understandable reality. But like the fanatical, or I guess fantastical situation Dragon Ball puts, where you're just this kid who loses his grandfather and grows up alone, and then meets this girl and goes on an adventure and makes a whole bunch of friends and gets married and has a kid. And now you're fighting your brother who's a secret space alien. And now you gotta go save your son from him, and then you die, and then you gotta stop his friends from murdering everyone you love, and then the stakes just keep getting higher and higher and higher and higher until you're battling gods, physically and literally. You're fighting a tournament again for the big guy, the god of your universe, of all universes, to see and try to prove that you and the people that you have grown with and fought alongside and against throughout all these years have to determine the fate of your own universe. And I think that's just fantastic. Regardless of the difference in quality between Ball, Z, Super, and GT, I love all of them in their own special way. They'll have something that gets me coming back. Like I've watched Dragon Ball Z since I've become an adult 6 times. Before that, I couldn't tell you how many times I've watched it. I've watched Super coming up on my 5th time now. I've watched Dragon Ball at least 3 times since I've become an adult. I've watched GT at least twice. I can't tell you how many times I've watched any of those first 3 of the older series back when I was a kid. I've seen those movies God knows how many times. I will watch Wrath of the Dragon, Infusion Reborn, and Broly on repeat. Both Brolys, really. And even the Superhero, and Battle of Gods, and Resurrection of F. All these stories that this man had a part in. They're just so warm and comforting. Regardless if some of them are not as good as the others, it's still Dragon Ball at the core. And there's still stuff that I can attach to and enjoy that I just love. And like, I will never say a bad thing about Dragon Ball. For all its mistakes and all of its issues, it is still a piece of media. It is still a collection of stories written by this one man with a through thread of just be better, just grow, just adapt, become who you are meant to be. Go to push yourself further beyond your own limitations, even the ones that you set yourself or others set for you. There is nothing that can stop you but you. If you just keep pushing, you will get to the other side. And that's a wonderful story. And Akira Toriyama, God rest his soul, is one of the greats. I hope he finds the peace that he needs. I mean, man, nearly worked himself to death. You know, going between Slump and Dragon Ball Z back in the day. I know he got his break, but now it looked like things were trending towards him being involved again. Daima's coming out. It looks like he was going to have a heavy hand in that, and I know he's been helping Toyotaro out with Super. And I feel like Toyotaro has finally rounded himself into good form with Moro and Granola, and I think he'll do good things. I think he will be able to hold up the mantle as well as he can. I don't think anyone else is going to. I don't think anyone in the world is more equipped to follow up Toriyama than the man who he picked to be his disciple. Has taken in and kind of taught him, I guess, I would assume everything he knows, or everything that Toyotaro needs to succeed. So, I mean, it's just tough, man. I feel like nobody saw this coming, because, like, Daima's coming out. All this new Dragon Ball stuff is coming out, and it feels like he was involved. And, having a voice and a part, and for him to pass like this, it's just unbelievable. Like, and you see the reactions from, Kishimoto and Oda and Kibe and all these other artists and creators and creatives who he either worked with or learned under him and saw like, hey, like we can do this. Every young Japanese creator in the 90s and the 2000s, even to the 2010s, saw Dragon Ball, was like, I want to do this. This is what I want to create. Toriyama is someone I want to emulate, and that's just so powerful because you don't really see that. So you see people trying to want to be better. It's not who want to do their own special thing. Everybody else is like, no, I want to be like Toriyama because he is what I believe perfected the genre, perfected the storytelling, and that's just so powerful. It's like when Toriyama got his torch passed when went from Astro Boy to Dragon Ball. It felt like Tezuka had literally passed the torch on to him, and Toriyama is now passing it on to this new generation of artists, whether it be Oda or Kishimoto or Toyotaro or whoever, Horishiki, whatever shonen, non-shonen, whatever kind of artist or creator they are. They have all seemingly taking up the torch of continuing or at least trying to emulate the storytelling he tried to bring through. And I find that just so influential. I don't think you can say there's a Japanese creative who has been more influential on the world than Akira Toriyama. Like, Dragon Ball's influence is monumental. Like, Goku has become a synonymous character, and regardless of whatever country or culture you are, you know who he is, or there's a high chance that somebody knows who he is or has seen his face before. His face has just become so synonymous. Like, he has become just a character who will live forever, probably, who will live on forever in the eyes of the people who noticed him and will pass on his stories to their kids and so on and so forth. Toriyama did that. Toriyama is probably the most influential Japanese person maybe ever. Like, that's probably hyperbolic, but like he has had more influence, especially in the late 20th and 21st century, than any Japanese person has probably ever had on the world at large. And that is just insane to think about. Like, Dragon Ball is one of the most influential stories ever created, regardless of nation. Goku, and Vegeta, and all his characters' influence has reached so much farther beyond Japan's borders, so much farther beyond America, Latin America, or the United States, or Canada, or Mexico, or Europe, or Africa, or the Middle East. Goku is everywhere. His stories are everywhere. Toriyama has become a figure of, Homer-esque, Tolkien-esque, where he's created such a fantastic world and characters that people love. People want to root for and support and want to consume and want to see more of. That's why Dragon Ball keeps coming back. Why it will never go away, it seems like. Because everyone loves it. They want to be around it. They want to have that warm, welcoming feeling envelop them. As when they felt when they were watching Z or Ball, depending on how old you are. Like, people just want that. They want that feeling. Whether it be here in the States or in Europe or in Mexico or Latin America or over back in Japan. People desperately want that feeling. That feeling of warmness that Dragon Ball gives them. And I think, regardless of Toriyama's passing, I think Toyotaro and his team and whoever is going to work with him on continuing this forward will be able to do that. But it is a very sad day that one of the most influential men of the modern era, one of the most influential creators to ever live, has passed on. Um, I wish his soul redemption and that he will have a halo of his own one day, if not already having one. But yes, rest in peace, Akira. You definitely deserved it.